Everyone who's made it back for this last section. I appreciate we're getting on in the day now, so thank you for coming back to listen to me and Olaf next. So yes, I work for Wyndham Hotels and Resorts, and today I'm going to be talking to you about modern guests and what they want. And I'm conscious this is a theme that many of the speakers have already touched on today, and I may share some of the similar trends that they've already spoken about. I'm pretty sure I talk about some similar trends to the futurologist Andre earlier, although I don't speak Russian. I wish I did because it sounded like a great presentation, but I think there are some similar themes there. Before I get started, just a little bit about who I am. So, as you heard earlier, I've worked on the OTA and hotel side. I've been in travel and leisure for almost 19 years now. I started with lastminute.com, which is one of the most prominent OTAs in the UK. And I've worked with health clubs and then hotels. I spent 5 years with Radisson Blu Hotels in the UK on e-commerce specifically. And more recently, I've been with Wyndham Hotels and Resorts for almost 6 years. Came in to look after e-commerce and digital, have started working on loyalty and more recently brand, and that's across the EMEA region. So, I'll also tell you a little bit about Wyndham Hotels and Resorts. So you might be surprised to hear that globally, it's actually the largest hotel company in terms of number of hotels at the moment. There's over 9,300 hotels. And a significant part of that footprint is in North America. And it's growing rapidly in Europe. We're in over 90 countries. We actually have 2 hotels here in Kiev. We have 2 Ramadas here and 1 Ramada Encore. And we have one of the world's largest loyalty programs with over 81 million members. So I'm sure I'll get some questions on loyalty later as well. We have 20 brands in multiple markets, and it's quite a diverse range of brands. So we have everything from the economy and budget sector, like a Days Inn or a Super 8, up to full-service luxury hotels like a Dolce or a Wyndham Grand. So coming back to the theme of today, so the modern guest and what they want, and it's something we've been evaluating a lot. So today I'm going to try and show you some of the trends that we've found and talk a bit about some of our strategies about how we're adapting and preparing ourselves for modern guests. So what do we know about modern guests? Is it all about millennials? And we often think about millennials when we talk about modern and future guests, and we're right too, because over the next 10 to 20 years, they'll be in the peaks of their careers. But I wonder how many millennials are in the room, actually. There might be some like me who like to think they're in millennial age bracket, but in reality, I'm not. But we're all business travelers today, so are we modern guests? And have our needs differed significantly from generations before us? Does age really matter? There's a place for modern technology at every age, as it seems. So whether we're talking about millennials, we're going to look at some of the trends that we've seen when we're talking about modern guests. And I know that Thomas talked earlier about the importance of data. Data, is it the new oil, and how to use it to drive revenue? And as a large organization, we have so many different data sources that we can pull on to try and build a picture of the modern guest. And so by doing that, we've observed a few trends. So I'll talk you through some of them. And this is the things that we have seen that are changing and are new. There will be things that never change in terms of what a guest wants. Things like a good bed, a great bathroom. We know that, and that's always going to be there. And here are some of the new things that we're seeing more recently. So, ease of booking. We know that traditionally, the most important factors when a customer is choosing where to book are price, location, and service. But we're seeing more increasingly, ease of booking is becoming up there, one of the high priorities in terms of choosing where to book, to the extent that customers will sometimes be prepared to pay more for an option that is easy to book. Also, the desire to chat. So increasingly, we're seeing chats being used as a channel for communications. And we know that chat boxes have been around for many years. But recently, we're seeing better improvements in this communication channel, and it's becoming a seamless part of the user journey. And we're seeing that customers are more prepared to use this channel. Also, assumed connectivity. So having all of your devices connect, bringing your home office or your home entertainment into the hotel room, that used to be something that was a nice surprise when it was done well. And what we're seeing more recently is it's expected and it's assumed. And if you don't deliver that, then that person becomes a detractor of your brand. So we're seeing changes there. Also, in some areas, we're seeing shorter lead times. And when we looked at some of the customer commentary on this, it comes back to that recurring theme of customers having less time, less spare time that they're willing to share. So less time planning means a customer expects to be able to book at the last minute and still have all of the choice, still find the right hotel deal, even at the last minute. And a demand for style. So particularly in cities with high population density, we already know that space is at a premium. And we're seeing that customers are prepared to sacrifice room space in favor of strong and unique design. And that's something that we're seeing more and more. And finally, meaningful communications. So we've heard a lot about localization and personalization. And I think with so much advertising and infiltrating our lives, we tend to filter out anything that's bland. And we're only prepared to engage with brands that are delivering really meaningful content. So something that's either emotionally engaging or it's particularly useful, particularly relevant. And so that's what we're seeing. So there are a few things that we've noticed about, let's call it the modern guest of today, but what about guests of the future? So this happy traveler is my son, Evan. At 3 years old, he loves to travel, but I wonder how he'll travel in 2050 when he's 33 years old. And when thinking about that, it's quite hard to predict what guests will want and what travel will be like in 30 years' time. And I think, the current situation in China and now globally just shows us that it's really difficult to predict where the change will come from and when the change will come. But there are certain things that, as a hotel brand, we've been thinking about and expect to see impacting over the next 10 years, at least. So let's have a look at some of those themes that we're seeing. So obviously, technology is going to be a big driver of change, and I know that Olaf is going to be talking a little bit about that afterwards. So I'm going to share a couple of things, I guess, from the hotel brand view of where we see technology impacting. There's been some mention of 5G connectivity today, and I think we're hearing a lot about it. We've seen 5G phones hitting the market. I think realistically, we're seeing that to have 5G connectivity with widespread coverage in multiple cities is still quite a long way off. But what we do think is that over the next 10 years, expectations are going to change in terms of what can be delivered over a wireless network. So bringing that into hotels, we think guests might come to the hotel being less dependent on us to provide the bandwidth for all of their data needs, their growing data demands, and it might be something that they can actually support themselves. And we need to think about how that could impact us if it takes away an interaction where currently we're able to add value and collect customer data if we're the ones providing them with the bandwidth. And maybe things like 5G, and I think somebody mentioned 6G today, maybe in time that can change things. Home entertainment transporting to the hotel. So we expect this to be a key factor, unsurprisingly, over the next 10 years, where our guests will expect to come to the hotel room and for their home environment or home office to follow them. So imagine an example where you enter your hotel room and the thermostat automatically connects to the settings that you have at home. The music library automatically syncs to what's on your phone. And room service automatically connects to your preferred meal delivery partners like Uber Eats or Deliveroo. And I think, as mentioned today, we've already seen some of this happening, but we expect it to be growing a lot over the next 10 years. And there'll be more ways to communicate with guests, and we expect to see hotel and brand communications spilling over into people's everyday apps. So at the moment, we obviously use email and traditional channels like email and phone quite a lot, but we expect to see more and more of this communication happening in places like WhatsApp and WeChat and FaceTime. And obviously, you know, in 10 years' time, it might be different apps. We don't know what they are yet. And it'll be interesting to see if Facebook is still going, you know, at the end of this decade. I realized recently that Facebook started growing its members on the platform that's now really familiar 16 years ago. And hasn't that gone quickly? It makes me feel really old to know that Facebook has been growing for 16 years. It feels like something that was recent. Climate change is going to be high on our guests' agenda. So you only need to look at the rapid growth of the school strike for climate to know that for younger generations, this is going to be a high importance for them. So it's going to be really important for us to demonstrate our stance on this and show kind of that we're not just doing a token effort here, we are really taking steps to protect our environment. And then there's guest feedback and service demands. So we expect to see an evolution in guest feedback. We expect to see more instant feedback. So when a customer is on property, they will be giving instant feedback, and with staff who are empowered to resolve and respond to that feedback immediately. And again, I know that some of this is already happening in some hotels. I've seen some great partners come in who are able to help facilitate that. But we expect to see a shift in customer expectation, that they would come to your hotel expecting to be able to give instant feedback and get an instant response. So there's some of the trends that we expect to see over the next 10 years. So I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing to prepare for our future guests, specifically at Wyndham Hotels and Resorts. So setting the foundations. I think one of the biggest problems for the hotel industry is a reliance on a vast network of interdependent systems. And, you know, from the PMS to the CRS, GDS, all the intermediaries. For hotel distribution and hotel operations, I think often the tech that we rely on is struggling to keep pace with the customer demands. So we took steps in recent years to remove all of our legacy CRSs. So over the years, we've built up, by acquiring different brands, a collection of multiple CRSs that have been built by us as a hotel company. And we realized that we are not technology experts. We are hoteliers, and our speciality is accommodating our guests. And in order to focus on that, we need to leave the technology to the experts. So we don't build CRSs, that's not what we do. We partnered with Sabre, and we moved all of our hotels over to one CRS. And it was a huge project, massive investment, but it's really set us up now for the future, because now when we roll out new technology, we can be much more agile and responsive because we're only working with one state-of-the-art CRS, and we don't have to build from scratch. And so I think in future, when we want to roll out technology and try and keep up with our guests, it's going to be a much smoother process, having one strong CRS to power all of it in the background. So ease of booking. I mentioned earlier how ease of booking is becoming a really important consideration for customers when they're deciding where to book and who to book with. So we have invested quite significantly in the mobile experience, and that includes both the mobile web as part of a responsive website and also mobile app. And the two need to sit alongside each other. They've both got a purpose. They both need to be seamless. So we're investing quite heavily in that. We're working on quite a big update at the moment. And my colleagues in Parsippany, where a lot of our development takes place, are currently testing over 7,000 use cases for this update to the app to make sure we've covered every base for what a customer might need. So it's no small task to deliver on making booking easy via mobile, but it's something that we've prioritized because we know that that can really influence the guest's decision on where to book and who to book with. And as I was just mentioning, moving away from legacy systems where we can and working with premium partners is really going to help us to provide easier booking solutions for our guests. And then also intelligent digital marketing. So I think more than ever, we need to be deploying really compelling ads to the right customers at the right time. I think the customer's attention is so diverted. There are so many distractions. So it's really important that we're as relevant and timely as we can be. So we've been partnering with some great cutting-edge digital marketing agencies. And a lot of them will talk about artificial intelligence. And I think what they mean is machine learning, and that there's a difference. But they sell artificial intelligence, and we get machine learning, which is fine because I think we're a long way off from using artificial intelligence in the way that some companies might suggest. But it allows us to deploy advertising that makes sense, hits the right customers, is cost efficient. So we're going to try and balance that with the human touch, which is still quite important in our industry. But we've also noticed that there's a growth in the number of small local marketing agencies that are providing quite sophisticated solutions for marketing. So a lot of the hotels that we work with will do their own local marketing to complement what we do at a brand level. And we're seeing some really good solutions out there. So I'd urge you to, even if you've got a lot of pressure on your budgets, because I know there's always pressure on marketing budgets, still reach out to your local agencies, see what's there, take the opportunity to learn from them, and if you can be confident in the ROI, then take advantage of the solutions that are there at the moment. So environment protection and sustainability. So I talked earlier about the importance of climate change being at the top of the agenda, particularly for younger generations. So it's going to be vital that we can demonstrate what we're doing to protect the environment. And again, this has to be real. It can't be a PR initiative. It can't be a token effort. We need to make real changes in order for our customers to believe us and choose us on this basis. And so, as a mainly franchise company, there's stuff that we can do at a corporate level to make sure that our environmental policy is correct, but we also need to support our hotels so that they can make this commitment locally across multiple markets. So one of the ways to do that is we recently launched a program called Wyndham Green. So it's a certification program for our hotels, and it allows them to kind of move through various levels as they increase their ability in this area. And what it does is it provides a framework for them to take on quite ambitious but still practical measures to protect the environment through efficiency in their water and their energy and you know, operational efficiency. And I think having so many hotels and so many markets with so much data allowed us to devise something that can be picked up locally and easily to really make a difference here, and for those hotels to be able to confidently say to their customers, we're doing everything we can in this area. And sourcing. So as a marketing person, I never really thought I'd get that excited about strategic sourcing. But then looking at a lot of the initiatives that we want to achieve, particularly for the future guest, it's quite obvious that we're not going to be able to do this in a franchise environment without really good strategic sourcing. So as a company, it's something we've been investing in quite a bit to set up sourcing support for our hotels so that when they join us, they can find the right suppliers for the right projects and really take advantage of some of the global deals we can do through sourcing. And finally, you know, in marketing, more interesting for me is the brands and how we make them stay relevant. So we've got a variety of brands. Some of them have been around for over 50 years. So how do we keep them relevant for the future guests? I'll use the example of the Super 8 brand. So Super 8 has been around since the 1970s. It's actually the largest economy brand in the world. And I think earlier we saw a screenshot from Google from today or yesterday saying that 1,500 Wyndham hotels have been closed in China. A lot of them will be Super 8s. We have a lot of Super 8s in China. The number 8 and the colors red and yellow really worked for that market. So it's a huge brand. The brand name came from when we used to sell rooms for $8.88 back in the day. And obviously things have changed. But we want to retain that iconic status of the past, but still make this brand relevant for future guests. It's a brand that we know appeals at the moment to younger generations, call it millennials. So we've been looking at how we can make this brand more relevant for them. So on Super 8, one of the things we did actually was partnered with a group of students at university in New York, NY Stern, and we got them to take a look at our brand and to feed back to us about how we could really make this brand exciting and relevant. And I found that a really, really refreshing way to work on a brand, because often we work with marketing consultancy, or we take a lot of direction from our brand owners within the company. And it was really useful to actually step outside of that, reach a group of people who are quite closely related to our target audience and get their feedback and for them to help us steer the brand. So if you ever have an opportunity, even at a hotel level, to get some feedback from your customers, I think that's a really good way to build your brand and your offering. And so we also did some work with our architecture and design team to make this brand still at an economy price feel like it has that style and design. This is, I think, one of our communal areas in a Super 8 in Munich City North. It's a big bright area where you're, I think this is an all-day dining section, and I know we've talked about all-day dining earlier, but it's an economy price, but it doesn't necessarily feel like some of the dark, dingy economy places that you often find. Also using artwork to really bring the place to life and give it some character. You might not know actually that the pineapple is apparently the international symbol for hospitality. So I can only imagine that's what inspired this picture of a woman with a pineapple on her shoulder. But The customers like it, apparently. And this is, again, in Munich. We also use local artists to add some character to the hotel. So here, on the side of a hotel in Dresden, we've got some artwork that's kind of tying in with the Super 8 brand and bringing it to life. So I'll finish by giving you kind of, I guess, the view from the hotel brand. And so having looked at some of the trends that we can see in the future and some of the opportunities and challenges from the modern guest, I think we're facing a generation with a new set of values. And it's up to us to be agile and responsive to those, to really prepare ourselves for the future guest. And I think, you guys being here today shows that that's a priority for you. So wish you good luck. Thank you for listening to me, and I think we've got a lot of questions, so I'm going to leave a bit more time for that. Thank you.
Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah, it's okay. Thank you, Amy. I would like to share with some questions. We do have them a lot, really. And one of them is starting from the marketing budget. As you are head of marketing in such big company, what is in general, in average, the marketing budget in the contribution to the overall revenues of the hotel? Just in average, what would you recommend the percentage?
So, I mean, when you talk about marketing budget, within a brand like a company the size of ours, you get your marketing budget, which is your whole marketing operation, which actually includes like your sales team, your infrastructure, your websites, all of the cost of doing business items. So a lot of our marketing budget kind of goes onto that whole infrastructure. And then you've got, I guess, your advertising budget, which is probably what you're referring to there. And
I will transform the question because, yeah, you are right. So just imagine if we have 100-room hotel situated in the center of the city, big megapolis, what should be, how many sources and money should be spent in the year budget to the marketing, including advertisement and in other kind of promotional things?
Yeah, so again, it often makes sense to compare to the what we're paying for an OTA. So paying 15% on, up to 15% often on OTA commissions. So what we invest in marketing should be, I think, at least at that level or higher, because we know the direct business is a better cost of sale. But also investing in marketing means that even if those people aren't coming to you direct, we still need them to choose us when they're on an OTA. So it's still investment that's needed even above that 15%.
And what is the preferable ratio of the OTA's revenues in calculated in room nights and in comparison with the direct bookings through the website?
I mean, yeah, you're going to want more direct than OTA, but we're also realistic that in some markets we're very, very dependent on OTAs. So it really is often market-driven. So we notice in the Middle East, for example, is a much higher propensity to book on OTA. Often, even sometimes a hotelier will think of OTA first and brand.com second, and we're constantly having to remind them that brand.com is something we need to grow. Whereas in the UK, where there's a much more evolved market, we expect a much higher percentage. So it does vary.
Okay, thank you. We want to come back for the guest data collecting. And the question is, what kind of tools do you use to collect the data about your guests? I'm just translating, that's why I'm just a bit slow, sorry for that. Besides of the questionnaires, do you use the profile of the guest in the social medias as well to analyze who are your clients?
Yeah, so you can get some really valuable data from social media profiles. So we bring in obviously all the review data we bring in, and we aggregate to see a clear picture, but also in terms of the demographics, platforms like Facebook obviously have so much data, and a lot of that we can share, so we do review a lot of that data. Yeah.
I have the next question, and when I will announce it, could you please help me with the microphone if we have the questions from the hall? And raise your hand just to understand how many questions do we have. Okay. So the question is, what are your recommended actions when the guest is really bidding for some benefits on the reception and racketing the receptionist that they will put negative reviews on the TripAdvisor or Booking.com if he won't get this, like early arrival or late checkout.
Yeah, the threat of a bad review. I mean, I think bad reviews can be really powerful. So I think if a guest is unhappy, then absolutely we want to rectify the situation. And there are all of the traditional offers, like the one you just mentioned. One that we use quite a bit is our hotels are able to gift loyalty points to guests, and we do get some quite good feedback. And I know, people question the value of loyalty points, but they can get you some great nights at quite a vast range of hotels. So in our portfolio being so diverse means that we have customers maybe at a Days Inn or a Super 8 budget hotel who can quite quickly build up points to get a free night, and that could be at a Wyndham Grand or one of our resort hotels. And it's one of the most generous loyalty programs out there, so you can reach those quite quickly. We have promotions like if you stay twice at the moment, you can earn enough points to get a free night, off to just 2 stays. So using points instead of, you're not going to give out cash as to resolve an issue, but points is quite a welcome reward.
And what is the most popular benefit from your loyalty program, just to share us?
Well, I think it's 85% of the points that people spend are on hotel nights. So they can redeem on other things like Amazon vouchers or restaurant vouchers and things like that, but they do spend them back into the hotel. But I think the most popular benefit of that program, as I was saying earlier, is it's very generous. So you can stay at quite high-end hotels, particularly if you're doing business travel at mid-scale level. You can rack up quite a lot of points to spend at resort hotels. So that's why people do love the program.
People do love free nights, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Amy. Do we have the questions from the hall?